Welcome to the network of Networth video podcast, having high-level conversations with high-level individuals. I'll be your host, Christopher Day. Enjoy the show. What is Crocodile lending? Hey out there, YouTube land. Today we'll be talking with the chairman of Gal Family Office, Ethan Gal, a Houston-based attorney, life insurance salesman, and title and escrow officer. And we will be learning about the exciting world of crocodile lending. So that you happen to have some interesting things to talk about, and you want to talk about opportunity with lending, and you wanted to talk about the things that you're doing. So I'd love to hear more about what it is that you actually do and what it is that you're looking to do.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. What I'm looking, there's three separate things that I do. One is I practice law. I do real estate and corporate and transactional law. So for someone like you that's, interested in real estate and buying businesses, I do quite a lot of that legal work. I've been a lawyer for almost 18 years now. I started doing large mergers and acquisitions related work in New York before I moved to Houston. I'm also a licensed title and escrow officer at a couple of different title companies. So we also do closings for properties, especially in Texas. Second thing I do is I'm part of a registered investment advisor. We give financial advice to clients. I myself personally own a lot of life insurance. So I myself own a ton of life insurance. I was a client 10 years ago when I bought my first life insurance policy. And then when I quit my corporate job 8 years ago, my financial advisor who sold me the life insurance policy hired me onto his team. So I've been a licensed life insurance professional for the past 7, 8 years. And I myself really like permanent life insurance. So I've become an expert on that. And I sell that. Most of my clients are lawyers and real estate investors because those are the two groups of people I hang out with the most. And then the third thing that I do and where I spend most of my time is in real estate investing. And so in real estate investing, I started by being a hard money lender, just traditional first lien deeds of trust and house flipping stuff. And then I started doing more commercial deals. But recently, what I really wanted to niche down on and do more of are transactional loans, double closing type of loans with wholesalers that just need money for 1 second to 2 days, all controlled by escrow. Or I'm looking for a variation of the Gator loan that a lot of your folks and network know about. But I'm only looking for one specific aspect of it. So I'm not super interested in the earnest money loans unless it's soft earnest money and completely refundable without risk. I'm not interested in hard earnest money where if the buyer can't close, then the seller gets to keep the earnest money. That's not interesting to me.
Sure.
What I'm interested in is soft earnest money, where if the worst case, just the deal can't close, it's still refundable. We get all the money back. So there's not that element of risk of losing it.
Certainly.
And the other thing I'm interested in is what I now am going to call a crocodile loan. So I'll start advertising a little bit about it on LinkedIn in the future. But what I'm interested in is a specific loan where someone is buying a property and the seller is going to carry a portion of the proceeds back, either as a second lien, an unsecured loan, an investment back into the property, preferred equity, whatever the case may be. The seller is willing to stay in the deal. And the lender on the buyer side does not give the buyer any credit for that on the closing statement for the down payment. So that's what I'm interested in. So let's just use a real life example. Let's say you're buying a property for $1 million. The seller has agreed to contribute 200,000 of proceeds back into the deal. So you as the buyer, you as the investor, you're talking to your lender, it might be a bank, it might be a hard money lender, and you're saying, hey, I don't have 200K liquid right now to put in as a down payment. Can I just use the seller's contribution as the 20% down payment? Like here, they're going to put in 200K and your lender says, that's great. That's okay.
Sure.
We're fine permitting it. but we will still not give you any credit for that as part of the down payment.
Oh,
So you have to come up with 200K. So in that situation, if you don't have 200K and you can't get it quickly enough, you just might lose your deal. So what do? Instead of losing your deal, you come to me and I will do that deal. I will lend you the 200K. We'll figure out the mechanism to do it. And then I will get repaid, day of closing, 1 day after closing, 2 days after closing, whatever the case may be.
that sounds like a fantastic type of deal. So somebody that doesn't have traditional funding, can't get it right away, needs it done right now so they don't lose it. They have an alternative. So what is your I guess your criteria for that? What is your price points? From what dollar range are you working with when it comes to those types of loans? Hey, are you a business owner that's stuck? Are you at that phase in your company where you're just not sure exactly what to do next? Like, where's the next step? What's the next piece of technology? What do I need to implement into our company or into our strategy for growth and scalability? Hit the link below. Let's have a business growth strategy consultation. Let's have a talk about that and see if we can't do something to maximize what you're doing already.
So the largest loan I've done in that format is $4 million. So I myself keep a large amount of liquidity for
Okay,
another business I'm involved in, which is I sign on loans as a guarantor. So to qualify for loans, certain loans, you have to have a specific net worth
certainly.
or a specific liquidity amount or both. So I am forced to keep a large percentage of my net worth liquid at all times. But that also means I can make 1 day loans, 2 day loans, 3 day loans. That's not a big deal.
Certainly. Certainly. Okay. Yeah, I did
So
see
where I'm
that
going to
you mentioned
be,
KP
yeah,
Guarantor.
yep. So where I'm going to be the most helpful is on the larger deals or the more complicated deals because I'm a licensed attorney and title and escrow agent. And potentially the title and escrow company I work at can be the one that closes the deal, which makes it less risky and more compliant and smoother for everyone involved. And I've done several of these before. So the range is really up to 5 million or
Sure.
so. And if it needs to be larger, as long as I'm given some advance notice, I can put that together as well.
Okay. Now, what size do you typically see? Like, I mean, what's kind of the average in the market that people are looking for, really, realistically, right now? I mean, I know there's a whole lot going on in the
It's
real
just
estate
whatever the
market.
down payment is.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just random. It depends. It's just whatever the down payment is. So if you're buying a house for 100K, I mean, your down payment might be 20 grand.
Sure. Sure.
If
Sure.
you're buying like a five, one of the people I've done this with, they bought a $8 million luxury single family home in Florida that they're turning into an Airbnb. So their down payment was like 3 million.
Sure. Okay. So you're seeing prices all across the board and you're getting deals all across the gamut of range. Okay. That's kind of
Totally
what I'm looking.
random.
Okay. Like, see, for me, when I
Totally
do
random.
stuff, I stay, very small time and I stay in the residential, neighborhood. So that's just because that's the ballpark that I play in. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out, what it is that you look for, what type of deals, that you prefer, things
I
like
don't have a preference.
no
These
prep, whatever
deals,
makes
when they're
money, isn't
done,
it?
yeah, these deals, if they fit the box, like I like to tell people, the less I have to know about the deal and the less I have to know about the borrower, it means that fits the deal.
Certainly. Certainly.
The
Now,
more I
so
have to know about the deal and the borrower, the more it's like I actually am funding an actual deal.
sure.
Uh, and that's different. Like the way I'm doing it, I'm funding a transaction. I don't really
Certainly.
care what in the transaction. I'm not funding a deal. I'm just facilitating the closing mechanics and the conditions to closing that sometimes people cannot meet. One other thing that I've been doing some of is sometimes people don't even need this money to be sent into a title and escrow company. Sometimes they just need a proof of funds or they need to show it available, but it doesn't even have to actually go anywhere. So I've been doing stuff like that too.
Kind of like you partner with them and your proof of funds basically is good for them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different structures I've done for that. The
Sure.
easiest is I just email somebody and said, yeah, trust me, I got the money. That's usually not accepted. People are like, "Who the hell are you?" You know.
Certainly.
So usually they say, "Send proof, please," and then I send some proof, and then they say, "Well, how are you connected to this buyer?" And then then that becomes a separate discussion.
Sure, sure.
But there's ways of doing it.
So I've got to ask you because I know that crocodile lending now is going to be a hit, a smashing sensation out there on the internet, and everybody's going to be wondering all about it. For those who are wanting to get into real estate in that particular realm, because I mean it's a topic, it's a topic. How do how do they learn more about loan documentation and how to structure that or who to talk to about that? Would they need to speak with an attorney like yourself to help structure that, or would they be able to do any of those things on their own? What was your recommendation as an attorney?
Loan documents, you can Google it. You can learn on Bigger Pockets. If you have very specific questions, then you basically have to consult an attorney. So I've been doing loan documents for my entire career, like 18 years.
Sure. Well, I see a lot of people and they talk about using like Rocket, was it Rocket Finance or Rocket
Rocket Lawyer,
Contracting?
yeah, no,
Something like that. Yeah. And they argue about those types of things, these different little legal services, whether or not they actually provide good, valuable contracts or if they're all just garbage. And that's kind of what I was, going to ask you about because those things are available all over. If you just start looking for loan documentation in your state, I mean, there's so many, templates and forms you can get for free. I mean, what's garbage? What's not? How do you know where to look?
great
It's all
question.
you.
I'm definitely talking my book here.
Hey, if you like the type of content that I've been creating and bringing to you, then hit that like button.
They're mostly garbage.
That's kind of what I assumed. I figured that's why we would speak to the expert.
Mostly garbage. I mean, people are always saying AI is the future. AI is probably the future, but it's not right now. I've asked AI tons of questions. AI doesn't know shit.
No, certainly not. Have you seen Chat GPT 4 for lawyers?
I haven't seen that one. I've seen I messed around with it maybe 6, 7 months ago. I asked it a very specific question.
Sure,
What is the rate of usury in the state of Tennessee? I got like 17 paragraphs saying it could be this on the one hand, it could be this on the other hand, it could be this. I'm like, this is like talking to my 7-year-old. And
sure.
then I Googled it, and Google said 14. Done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, see,
Google was better than ChatGPT. ChatGPT went on and on, didn't give me an answer. Google like said it's 14%, bro.
hey, if you're interested in a one-on-one business growth strategy consultation with me, fill out the form below and let's set up a time to hop on a Zoom call and talk. So tell me more about what it is that someone out there in the listening audience may be able to do to connect with you and how they may be able to work with you on multiple sides, whether it be on you know just looking for a deal side. Or what all do you need? What are you looking for? Tell us the dirt. And then I want a good juicy story
Yeah,
about something
for
cool in your industry that you've been through lately.
yeah, so if somebody is interested in hiring me as a lawyer, I need them to have cash money that they can pay me in advance. Lots of people ask me all kinds of legal questions, basically fishing for free advice. I'm happy to entertain that for a few minutes, but after that, it's a waste of time. So I had a call with a potential client, for an hour, and then I just had to cut it off because it was just obvious that
Sure,
they didn't have cash. But they're probably good people, but they were in Canada and just kept making excuse after excuse about why they can't wire me a retainer. They don't know how to use Venmo. They don't know how to use PayPal. They don't know how to use Zelle. They went, "Oh, can you go to your bank and find me the Swift number?" I'm like, "No, bro. I'm a lawyer. I'm trying to do a lot of work. I can't drive to my bank and then do all of this stuff for
oh
you to figure out send me money. Like, are you joke? Like, you don't send money to the US?" And then they're like, then they're surprised at me. They're like, "Well, you don't know your own." I'm like, "No, I just receive money.
yeah,
I
that's
don't
it.
send myself like I'm just here to receive money and do the work. You're making it extremely hard for me to be your lawyer. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you should just go find somebody else."
Send them a pay
Um,
link or an invoice link from the bank, man. That's
No,
that.
I'm like, you
That's
don't know how
it.
to use that. Like, I know they have Zelle in Canada. I know
Sure.
they have PayPal in Canada. I know they have Venmo in Canada. And you literally and I told you my bank account information. I don't know the Swift code. Like no one's sending me international stuff. And they're like, oh, you don't receive international. I was like, why would I be receiving international wires all day?
That's
Like
right. You're
that's
not
not
an
my
international attorney.
yeah, I'm not an international attorney. I'm a Texas attorney, and they're doing a deal in Texas.
I love it. Now,
And then I
speaking
actually
of
had to
that,
switch.
speaking of being
Yeah.
in Texas, that's something that we haven't spoken to about, with our audience at all. Now, where are you actually located? Where do you practice and where do you work with? And where, what area are you in Texas where you're looking for network?
Yeah, I'm in Houston. I'm on the far west side. Live here with my 5 kids. I got a big house in the suburbs. I've been a suburban dad personality before I even had kids. So I've been
Hey,
a suburban dad since I was 16 years old when I met my wife.
so
Um,
father, attorney, insurance dealer, and there was
Salesman, not dealer. We don't deal. We sell.
salesman. You know what I
We
wondered?
only we
Is
only
it
sell
agent?
it.
Is it broker? Is it salesperson? I was wondering what that was.
It's typically called a sales agent. It can also be called a broker, but it's typically just sales agent.
See, so what do you prefer? And I mean, it seems like you've got you've got a whole tool belt full of skills. So, do you prefer legal work? Do you prefer loans? Do you prefer real estate in itself, or what is your thing right now? That one thing that you really like above all the rest?
I'm a paper guy. So, in your world of farming, I'm basically worthless. So I don't know if you've watched Walking Dead or one of these post-apocalyptic shows.
Sure.
I would be one of the first people you would vote off of your farm. I don't know how to do farm work. I have bad eyesight. I'm not a strong driver. I'm not that strong. I don't have high endurance. I am made for the information age and the computer world. So I'm great at emailing people, calling them on the phone, following up on paperwork, drafting documents. That's what I'm great at. So I'm a paper guy. So I love doing loans and finance, especially if they don't have risk, just structuring a deal, getting it done, getting the paperwork done, doing the title and escrow, selling life insurance. I am a pure knowledge, information age worker.
Wow. Can you tell me one or two really good stories of the things that have happened in your field within the last few years in the recent past? I mean, you do so many different things, and I'd love to just hear some stories of how this has affected you or something that's affected the lives of the people around you, in your field.
Well, as most of you guys know, we had COVID about 3.5 years ago, shut down the world. Uh, it looks like people don't really go into the office anymore. So that is a wild adjustment. When I worked in corporate, we did have work from home certain days if you had, long errands or you had to take your kid to the doctor or something, but it was expected that you would mostly be in the office. But since I quit my corporate job 7, 8 years ago, I've been mostly work from home. And so I was already used to it. But once COVID happened, the world just went work from home. And now there's like job postings where people will reject a job if it says in office required. There's a lot of people that just like they're not even gonna apply for the job. They don't care what the pay is. They're like, well, if I have to go in like 3 days a week, I'm not interested anymore.
I
So
knew
it's just
that
such
was going to
a
happen.
humongous change.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
you
watched
predicted that
that.
ahead of time?
Oh, sure. I saw at the moment. Now you have to understand, I've worked for myself the majority of my life, and no one around me ever understood why I live the way that I live, because it doesn't seem structured to them. Right now, it truly is. The life of an entrepreneur is structured. It's just kind of you're doing a lot of things, wearing a lot of hats. So it may not appear as structured to other people. Now, once everybody was on global lockdown and they couldn't go anywhere else, the first thing I saw everybody do was, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And I said to myself, first they're going to relax a little bit. They'll enjoy themselves for just a bit. They're on a vacation, and then they'll kind of fret a little bit. Oh, what's going to happen? What's going on with the world? And then all of a sudden they're going to realize, wait a minute, I'm free for the first time in my life, for the first time in my adult life. It's not a week. It's not a week or two getaway. This is a life changing event to where we get to be with our family, understand, how to
Yes.
operate and maneuver
I'm
with each
giving a
other in our lives.
presentation, dude. I'm giving a presentation, Skylar. So you're gonna have a lot more videos like that where kids just do
Sure.
not understand the words being told to them.
Yeah, well, that's just life. And you know what? That's one of the beauties of the modern world. Now that life has changed, look, you're a practicing attorney over here on a podcast right now that thousands of people are going to be watching, hearing, all that kind of stuff. And uh look, you're doing it in your house, hanging out with your kids, relaxing in your real world life. That's amazing. And that's because of COVID. That was because of COVID. I knew people were never going to go back. They were never going to want to go back to the chains and bondage of a job the way that it used to be. And then you saw a whole year of craziness where nobody knew what they wanted to do financially or with a job or their house or anything. And then all of a sudden, reality, kicked in the next year, which was what, last year. And they said, "Oh darn, look what we did. I guess we better buckle down and hang on for a minute and see what's going to happen."
Yeah, no, it's surprising. I mean, it's just such a different. I wonder if how it is in other parts of the world like Asia, Australia, Africa, or Europe. I wonder if anybody has made people go back to work yet. I assume the pushback must be strong. I mean, who really wants to have to be forced to commute and work in an office, especially if they have a job where it's not really necessary? Like if you're a fireman, you obviously probably have to go to the fire station. But if you're a knowledge worker or whatever, you probably don't really need to
Sure.
commute all the time.
I think globally that changed. I haven't heard anything different. And we have a global audience, number one. And in our club, we've got, people from all over the world, and many of them work from home. So I would say that it just never went back to the way it was, which is good in a way. At the same time, the kids right now will never know what it used to be like ever, which is good. It's good. They don't need to be chained the same way that we were in complete bondage of manual labor life, especially when really the majority of our jobs aren't that anymore. They're really not. We don't need to be there from 9 to 5. That's not something that we have to do anymore. We can do a lot of it from our homes. You know, live video is a major thing right now. I don't know if you've paid attention to watching people's life. That's something that people since COVID has become a major thing. People enjoy watching other people live, seeing how they conduct their job, how they conduct their life, what they do in that position. What does it look like to do these things? And a lot of times they find out it looks just like their job, sitting around watching a screen, doing nothing, talking on the
Yep.
phone. Yeah, carrying on a
Yep.
conversation with somebody on a Zoom call.
Yep.
Sure, sure. So, well, anyway, I would love to hear, some sort of cool story that's happened with one of your transactional deals or something like that over the last little time period. I know that sometimes things go awry, and those would make the best stories, really, when somebody screwed
Oh,
up.
things going awry. I mean,
Sure, give me a
especially
good
these
funny one.
days. Yeah, especially these days, if you just, it looks like what happens in a lot of economic cycles is there's probably quite a lot of fraud that's just generally going. Let's say, let's just assume that 10% of deals are just fraudulent, just as a general normal course. But what happens during a good economic time is people are just able to figure out the problems, even if they're running a fraud, or they're able to raise new investors, or they're able to dump an asset and make back money, and nobody loses money, and people don't complain and stuff. But now because it's a bad cycle, if you Google fraud, you're gonna see a ton of people being taken down and stuff. So I think that's just one reminder, which is fraud happens all the time. It's just they come out to light when things are going poorly and people are now seeing that they can't be paid back and the fraudsters can't actually raise new money or somehow dump their deals and still make money.
Sure.
So just always remember fraud is always there and always be very, very careful about who you deal with and who you partner with.
Because you're a multi-verse person, I'm going to ask you this because I'm sure that you probably keep your ear to the pulse. What do you think's about to happen in the next year, 12 months or so in the financial markets in the United States? I see that the reason I ask that is, they say we're doing great. When you watch the market, we're doing all right. Consumer spending is still at a low. No one's buying anything. They're just not. Don't know what's happened. Been almost a year that it's been like that. What's happening? What's going on? What's with the lull? Is it about to pick up? Is it about to die down? Is something happening? Tell me what's going. Tell the world what's happening out there, Ethan.
Well, I'm definitely not smart enough to predict it. If I were, I probably would not be being interviewed right now, and I'd probably be significantly wealthier. Um, but there's a few. Here's a few data points I can give people because there's a few things I just deal with a lot. So I have more data points about it, right? Like when you talk to me about pig farming, I have zero data points about pig farming. So I have no expertise about pig farming whatsoever. So I would have zero insight into that. I'm in several commercial real estate deals in a variety of different ways. What I found is the ones that are struggling, depending on who the lender is, um, you get wildly different results in negotiations. There are some lenders out there that are fine just taking a property back, wiping out all the investors, and then operating a property themselves and trying to make money. And there are lenders that um, don't ever want to own a property. So they will keep giving you extension after extension after extension after, hey, just give me $1 so I can pretend that this is a uh they'll start at give me $100,000 of interest. Like give me the three months of interest you didn't pay. Make it a performing loan again. And then you say, I don't have 100K. They say, how about 50? Don't have 50. All right, how about 25? I don't have 25. How about 9? Okay, maybe I can do 9. Or if you don't, you say, well, how about a ham sandwich? And they say, yeah, we'll take the ham sandwich and we'll market this as a performance because we don't want to own this.
Sure,
We're more likely to just sell this loan at a discount and just get the hell away versus foreclose, report it as a bad loan, show it to the regulators, have to take it over, then have to hire some random person to take it over. We're not set up to do that.
sure.
So it's interesting. You're going to get wildly different results on deals just based on which lender you have.
Speaking of judgments and things like that, do you ever buy debt? Have you ever bought a judgment?
Never bought a judgment. I bought a loan before. So I bought a $12.5 million first lien deed of trust in Texas. I bought it basically for the same value, and I actually was able to finance it with a bank. So I borrowed 12.5 million to buy a $12.5 million loan on a property in Texas. And if
Excellent.
I have to foreclose, I will. I would prefer not to. I just prefer to get paid off. But if I have to own that property, I personally, because it's in Texas, I'm comfortable stepping in and actually owning and operating it. So I think that's going to be a source of opportunity, and I'm constantly networking for lenders that'll do this type of transaction, which is called note on note financing. So somebody that'll lend you money to buy a loan. So I'm constantly looking for who will do that because I see a big opportunity in being able to buy not the properties, but the loans. Any lender will lend you money to buy the property, but only maybe 10% of them will lend you money to buy a loan. And it's ultimately all secured by a property. It's just the
Sure.
format. One is a direct deed of trust or a lien on a property. The other is an assignment of a lien or a hypothecation of a lien on said property.
I see. I see. And you're the person to talk about that for sure, Mr. Real Estate Attorney.
Yep.
For
Very
sure.
technical, but ultimately it's the same. I mean, it's very technical distinction, but it's literally the same collateral at the end of the day. It's the property.
Sure. Yeah, it's a property backed loan.
Yep.
When you're
It's a
getting it,
property backed loan.
you just need somebody to give you the financing to go buy the loan so that you can get them performing and do what you need to do.
Yep.
I totally get it. No, that's an interesting thing. I actually just came across that that strategy here not too long ago with another interviewee that I did, and he kind of was walking me through it, and that was an unknown world to me, unknown world, completely. So I tell you what, Ethan, I've had you on here for about half an hour now. Now, if I could do anything, or if someone out there in the audience that's listening or watching could do anything to either work with you or help you out, what would those things be?
Yeah. So, feel free to always email me. My email is Ethan, Ethan, at Gal Law Firm, PLLC, which is Gal is spelled GAOLAW, and then FIRMPLLC.com. That's the best email to reach me. Probably shouldn't give out my cell phone number, but it's in my email signature line, and I pick up all the time. So I'm happy to work with anybody, and I still at the point in my career where networking is still in my mind good. A lot of times I'll talk to people and they seem to have no idea what I'm talking about, but then 2 months later they refer me something highly relevant, or they want to buy life insurance from me, or hire me as their lawyer, or have me sign on a loan as their guarantor or something. And then sometimes I'll talk to people, we have a phenomenal discussion. I tell them all about my 5 children, how I met my wife when I was 16 years old at Cornell University as a freshman in college. And then they'll call me back and then they'll have zero idea who I am. They're like, oh, you're Ethan, you went to University of Houston, you met your wife when you were 46, and you have 1 child, right? And I'm like, wow, your memory truly is dog crap.
Sure, sure. Well, you know what? That's the reason that we started putting on this particular show. This is the
Right.
Network of Net Worth video
Yeah.
podcast. That's the reason you're here, is to help
Yep.
build your network of net worth. So the reason I put this on is so you're able to get out here, tell the world what it is that you do, who that you're looking to do it with, how you can serve the world, and how they can serve you. Those 4 things, because in the end it's a reciprocating thing. It's not all one way. It's not about how you can just do everything for the world. We also want to know what we can do for you, right? Who can I
Yeah.
introduce you to? Who can the world out there help Ethan out with? That's the whole point of the Network of Net Worth video podcast. So they
And
get to
that's
look at
amazing
your
you're
face.
doing it, Christopher. It's just a phenomenal service you're doing for everybody, and hopefully people refer you the stuff that you want as well. Just being a connector is such an important thing. When I worked in corporate law at a big firm downtown, they didn't really encourage networking at all because they just needed you to spend 60 to 80 hours a week in the office doing work.
Certainly.
And then our billing rates were so high, it really wasn't worth networking because you would say, oh, I'm going to take out my college buddy. He's the owner of a highly successful pig farm. And
Sure.
and then the partners and the important people say, that's great. He's a highly successful pig farmer. Can he pay $1,400 an hour for legal work? And I'm like, who the hell can pay $1,400 an hour for legal work? And they're
Sure.
like, well, if your friend can't, it's not really worth it for you to go network with us because we wouldn't, if he's not willing to pay that for we can't take him as a client.
Sure.
But especially real estate and business, networking is so important, even if you can't pay $1,400 an hour.
Certainly, certainly. No, that's why
I'm
we
just
do it
I
here.
only charge $13.99, as you know, Christopher.
That's it, 13.99 an hour. Well, now we know how to get a hold of you. We know a basic pricing structure as well. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there might even be, more to that if people were to get a hold of you and ask exactly, what they can do with you and your
Yeah,
services.
no, we definitely charge way less than 13.99.
I'm
Right?
sure that you did. I'm sure that you did.
That's unaffordable for anybody.
Certainly. Yeah, hey, I tell you what, I hear all sorts of prizes from attorneys, and I'm never surprised, and I never think it's little. I always think it's, damn, they got me every time, every
Yeah,
time. But hey, that's life. That's what they went to school for. That's what you went to school for, so that you can do that. Now you got to pay
exactly.
back the loans.
That's right.
I get you. Well, I tell you what, thank you very much for spending your time with us and letting us get to know who you are and what it is that you do, Ethan, and how the world can actually work with you, or do some sort of recommendations with you, networking with you,
Yep.
or even possibly hiring you, for your services. You do offer quite a bit. And hey, don't forget about the lending services that you offer, because everybody needs money. So it's like, do you need money out there to do your deal? Have you got a done deal? It's a transactional thing, ready to get that money in the bank? Well, you got to call Ethan. You got to call Ethan. You got to give him a message and say, hey, I've got the deal. Here's the paperwork. Let's do something. Isn't that pretty much how that's going to have to work?
That's exactly right.
All right. I appreciate you. Hey, if you are a business owner, an investor, or a leader in your industry, and you would like to have your story told, if you would like to share your story with our audience, be a guest on our video podcast. There's a link down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you. The Network of Net Worth video podcast is a place where we have high level conversations with high level individuals, and I'd like for you to be one of those individuals. Hit the link below.